Thank you, everyone, for joining in for another episode of Journeys of Hope. Today, we have a very special guest. We have the originator, the founder of Journeys of Hope, the lady whose idea this was, and it has grown into what it is today. Welcome, Linda. Could you tell us a little bit about how you got involved in the grief world? I don't know that too many people know your grief story. Could you share with us a little bit about that?
Yes, I'd be happy to. I got into the grief world because my husband and I lost our daughter. It will be 30 years this coming September. And after she died, I found that I didn't have much support during that time. And so I found a lot of help through a support group. And then shortly after that, I started facilitating that support group and started to work with a local hospice and got to meet funeral directors and learn about what funeral service was all about. And from that, I kind of made it my own little personal mission to put together some resources and information that then I can provide to other grieving families. And I went to the funeral directors that I had met and asked them if they would look at what I was doing. And from that day to this day, I've continually worked for funeral homes across the country, providing what we call aftercare programs, which involve just reaching out and supporting grieving families.
So I want to ask you a couple questions about that because you've been helping bereaved families for decades now. And so maybe you could talk a little bit about what is it do you think people are primarily looking for in terms of support?
I think they're actually just looking for basically information about what grief is so that they can check that with themselves and their own experience to help them to feel that what they're going through is, I don't want to say normal because, we don't like that word normal, but I think that they're looking for information to connect with so that they don't feel like they're so alone. And information about grief and how it affects people is not taught anywhere in life at all. And so I feel that when I work with people, that's mainly they want to know, am I doing this right? Is there something wrong with me? And I just find that, they really like that support, and they like the support on an ongoing basis. So, it's not just, checking in with families, right after their loved one died. I'm talking checking in with families, 6 months down the road, a year down the road. I find that that's most helpful because most people in that person's life have gone back into their own lives and are no longer there being supportive because, first off, they don't know how to be. And second off, they see the person and they kind of look the same as they looked before their loss. Oftentimes they're asking that person, how are you doing? And that person is saying, well, I'm doing okay. And so that support kind of falls back. So I find that people are really looking for support for the long haul. They want to be around those that are really understanding what they're going through. And I just find that, connecting with people for the long haul has been the most helpful thing. And again, providing information and other resources is also very valuable when somebody's grieving.
With that in mind, that providing information, that support, that validation, those things that you're talking about, share with us a little bit about how the cruise might offer some of those things.
Well, the cruise, actually, the programming on the cruise is two different components. There's the cruise of what a cruise is, and it's just a wonderful experience and allows people to relax. And then while they're doing that, we have the programming that's available to the guests and the participants where they can go and learn about different coping skills, listen to other presenters talk about maybe their own losses and how they've dealt with it. And it's just a really wonderful combination of, being able to relax and also being able to get the support that they need. And people have said, they do learn, you have to learn that grief and joy can coexist. And I think that this cruise has really proved that for probably most people, if not all the people who have gone on our cruise so far.
So let's talk a little bit about, the primary loss that you spoke about that kind of brought you into this was the loss of your daughter. Um, but talk a little bit about is the grief cruise just about bereaved parents?
No, actually, the bereaved cruise is for any type of loss, and we'd like to say it's the loss of a loved one to death. I mean, there's all types of other losses in life, and obviously, people who've experienced the loss of a loved one to death may have, lost a pet, or they may have lost a job, or they may have had other losses as they experience. And the cruise and all the programming addresses loss and grief and coping skills. And so it really helps people on such a wide range of different experiences. But it basically is for the loss of a loved one. And, we have people who've lost their spouses that join us, people who've lost their siblings, their parents, dear friends, significant others. I mean, it's not just for bereaved parents. And this is a cruise for all losses across the board. And it doesn't matter how much time has gone by either. We have people who have come with us, as you know, Glenn, their losses were, 3 months before the cruise sailed. We have people that have been with us that are, like ourselves, were, 20, 30 years out. So, there is no time frame. There is no limit as to, what the type of loss is of a loved one.
Now we're coming up on the fourth cruise, so you've had a few experiences now of seeing different people and different pieces. What was, if you were to kind of think back over the three different cruises, what would you share as kind of some of the most touching moments that you've seen on the cruise?
I think one of the most touching moments for me has been, we do offer the burial of the cremains at sea, and I think that that has been such a moving experience for me. I've been involved in so many different outreach events and communities and across the board for the funeral homes that I work with and hospices that I've worked with. That cremation or the dispersing of the cremains at sea is the most special thing that I've ever been a part of. So that's a real specific activity that is provided on the cruise for anybody who's interested in that. The other thing is that I really do feel that I'm a witness to the individuals really connecting with each other. I feel like I'm a witness to the presenters connecting with the guests, and it's just this ongoing. Everybody is supporting everybody. Right down to who's handing who a box of tissues, who's sharing their story. I mean, it really has been a beautiful experience no matter how I look at it. It has just been an absolute beautiful experience. And when people ask me, they call me all every day. I get calls about the cruise, asking me, what is this about? And I always feel like there's not enough adequate words for me to describe exactly what it is, except for that I always say that this cruise we're about a message of hope, and that's what this cruise is about, is to give people hope that they can go on and they're going to get through their losses, and they're going to learn how to deal with them maybe a little bit better. They're never going to get over them, but yet they make those connections with other people that are on the cruise, and a lifelong bond is formed. And we've got people who've come back 2 and 3 times, and some people even for the fourth time will be coming with us next year. So I mean, it is very helpful. It's a wonderful program. I just can't say enough about it. But yet, that being said, I always feel like there's just not enough that I can say. You really have to experience the cruise in order to really grasp the depth of which I think it touches people.
Yeah, I would agree. I was really moved by just how much it becomes a community. How in the beginning, everybody is maybe a little bit standoffish. They're not really sure exactly what it is, but by the time we've reached the end of the week, everyone is like a big family, and they've all those barriers. No matter why they came on the cruise, there's just this love and connection and support, and just it's an amazing experience. The transformation that occurs.
Yes, it is.
With when you started all of this, you probably had some expectation of what a grief cruise would be, what it would become. What has surprised you most after seeing it? After seeing the third one and coming up on the, I guess we have four, five, and six planned, but coming up where we've completed three. What has surprised you most?
I don't know if I want to call it surprise, but I actually, when I thought about the first cruise, and when I thought about what type of programming that would be available for the guests who joined us, I never would have envisioned the numbers of people who have stepped forward and offered to join us as presenters, and make our program what it's grown into. I mean, I don't think I ever would have envisioned that. I think I envisioned just a few of us coming together, putting a cruise together, but it has just been phenomenal. As you know, we have a growing list of people who are interested in presenting, and they're all presenting to come and contribute to this experience. And it just has humbled me all these few years that we've been doing this, that I think, if anything, I think that maybe surprised me a little bit, that I didn't even think, it wasn't even in my realm of thought that we would have so much interest in people actually wanting to be part of our program.
It's really powerful. I think it goes back to something you spoke of in the very beginning, and that is that need for knowledge. Because I think part of the healing process is the need for knowledge. But I think as your grief progresses, it's sharing with others what you found your hope in is also part of the healing. So, in my thought, and I'm curious as to what your thoughts are, this too is the presenters, I think, get as much healing from it as they're giving, or maybe even more. What is your thought about that?
Absolutely, Glenn. I feel the same exact way, because I feel that those of us who had our losses, most of us some years ago, our grief is still in our hearts. Our our loss is just as powerful to us as it was when it happened, and I just think that there is that ongoing need to help other people, and in doing so, you do help yourself. And I do think that, you know, the experience for the presenters may be on a different level, but I also think that, yeah, as we go through life, and I've said that in the past too when I've talked about, what about the people like us? What about our support? Because here we're supporting other people, and I think that this kind of fills that void, that people who are working in this world and supporting people who are grieving, they continue to need that support too. So you see that camaraderie amongst the presenters, that they really are connecting themselves. And I really feel, and then based on what they told us, and I feel it myself, is that we really do amongst ourselves, get that support that we continue to need, just on a different level, I think.
Yeah, I think it's just an amazing experience, and I think that is a gift that happens all the way around. I think that's part of the magic of the cruise, is that it's everyone is there for they're gaining their own hope through this by giving hope, and that sometimes it surprised me is that some of that hope comes from some of our newest, freshest guests. Last cruise, one of our guests at the end had a really kind of an amazing statement about what the cruise was to her. Do you remember what it was she said when we were asking kind of what the cruise had meant and what had happened to her? Do you remember that?
Well, quite a few people said quite a few things. Are you talking about the guest who said that that was the first week of peace that she'd had in several years since she lost her son? There was that guest who had that comment, that she just was struggling so hard for a few years and just didn't have any sense of peace. And then she came with us on the cruise, and I talked to her probably a couple weeks after the cruise just to check in with her, and she said to me, she says, I thought maybe I was kind of being fooled a little bit, that I was, going to get home and get back into my own routine, and then my doom and gloom was going to cast over me once again. And she said, "I have to tell you, I still feel that sense of relief and that sense of peace." And so that I think is really powerful. And then we had another lady that came with us that lost her husband, and she was married for over 60 years, and she wrote on our Facebook page, and I've actually had conversations with her as well. And she said that it was the most beautiful week that she's experienced in her entire life. I mean, this is an 80-something-year-old woman. To say that is just, I think, just incredible. We've gotten a lot of comments that I think prove to me that, what we're doing is helping people. And I think basically we just need to keep creating awareness of this special cruise, and hope that, the people who need to find us will find us and join us and experience this for themselves.
I think that is perfectly said, and that invitation is open to everyone. And I want to thank you very much for your time, Linda, and for sharing your message of hope. And I would invite anyone to come on the cruise. Give Linda a call. Let's see, if we can continue to grow and offer this hope to more.